Hello you bunch of super duper ultra mega ninja Nazis, and welcome to Promotional Pmonday, the show where I sexually harass small YouTubers and you cyber mob them with subscriptions. Today we have Simply Mad. A girl. Ew. I know, right? Oh well, I guess I do pretend to be for equality, so I'll let her have a go at the man stuff. Take it away, Simply Mad.
Hello all, and welcome back to my little slice of madness. Today what I have for you is going to be a real treat. Upon my perusal of the various places I stalk on the interwebs, I came across an article linked in a Facebook comment thread. It caught my eye instantly with its headline, "You've heard of rape culture, but have you heard of pedophile culture?" Of course I clicked on it, and what I began to read was, well, not exactly unexpected, but I believe it honestly treads a line between a PO and a radfem. So, let's take a look at it, shall we?
Dear Todd Nickerson, over at Salon a few days ago, you wrote an article provocatively entitled, "I'm a pedophile, but not a monster." Presumably, a lot of people are now asking questions such as, is pedophilia natural, or can pedophilia be cured? But I'm not going to attempt to answer those particular questions. Rather, I'd like to further this discourse by filling in some major holes in your article.
I'm not sure as many people were asking those questions as you think were. Mostly what I saw was people asking why the hell Salon would run such a provocative article in the first place, or why they were trying to justify pedophilia. Personally, my opinion rests squarely in the, if you don't act on your blatantly illegal and morally wrong desires, I think people should leave you alone camp. But I still believe therapy should be highly suggested so that non-acting pedophiles can learn tools to help keep themselves in check, and those who are at risk have someone to talk to help deal with their urges. Plus, trained professionals would be able to more easily detect those who are at risk of acting. Of course, according to you, this would be impossible because this kind of thing is already accepted, right? But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's continue.
Let's start with this missing piece. The vast majority of pedophiles are men. And the majority of children victimized by those pedophiles who do choose to act on their sexual desires are girls. This is a rather major detail to withhold from your audience, wouldn't you say? Unfortunately, as pervasive and overt as the patriarchy is, it is usually the last detail mentioned in conversations of this nature, if it is mentioned at all.
Oh look, links to citations! Goody! Let's just take a look here at the pedophiles or men citation. Well, look at that. A section about male and female pedophiles.
Most sexual offenders against children are male, although female offenders may account for 0.4 to 4% of convicted sexual offenders. On the basis of a range of published reports, McConaughey, estimates a 10-to-1 ratio of male to female child molesters. However, most researchers assume available estimates underrepresent the true number of female pedophiles. Several reasons for this have been proposed, including a societal tendency to dismiss the negative impact of sexual relationships between young boys and adult women, as well as women's greater access to the very young children who cannot report their abuse. Because of the low number of females in pedophile samples, most of the studies discussed below will be drawn from exclusively male samples.
And, get this, just above that, not even 2 or 3 lines above it.
Not everyone who sexually molests a child is actually a pedophile. That is, such a person may not have a persistent sexual attraction to prepubescent children.
Well, how about that? Not only is it not pedophiles, here defined as an adult who experiences sexual attraction to that of prepubescent children that the link is talking about, but even the gender numbers of those who sexually offend against children are called into question due to societal factors that radfems generally like to ignore. Very, very interesting. Let's look at the next link you provide. Ah, the study is behind a paywall. Yeah, I'm not forking over $35 to look at it, but I do find it interesting that not only is the study not actually about the gender differences between boys and girls, but that it seems to have the same problem as the last link. It doesn't take into account how much easier it is for a girl to come out as sexually abused in a lot of cases. I'd wager a guess that even in countries where girls who said they were sexually assaulted get beaten or have acid thrown on their face, or the like, which is horrific, don't get me wrong, boys would still have a harder time being taken seriously, as far as those kinds of accusations go at least. The fact is, men are laughed at and ridiculed or gaslit to the ends of the earth when they try to step up and say, "I was sexually assaulted." No one believes them, so most just don't say anything. I honestly don't think you're so stupid as to believe that people aren't sympathetic to sexually abused girls or are sympathetic to male pedophiles who act on their urges. Right? Right?
That said, pedophilia may seem taboo and despised by the masses, but an honest appraisal of our culture at large reveals otherwise. I propose that pedophilia is actually rewarded and celebrated, and that our entire culture and our understanding of sexuality is constructed around what seems to be pedophilic desires. I call this pedophile culture.
Roll credits. I propose that you're demonstrably wrong. Or at the very least reaching, nitpicking, and misunderstanding the evidence you're about to put forth. I guess we'll see.
In pedophile culture, women are expected to maintain a near impossible level of thinness, prepubescent in their almost androgynous lack of curvature and body fat. Due to this pressure, eating disorders abound in young girls, and women in particular are targeted throughout their lives by a multi-billion-dollar weight loss industry.
Now, I wasn't paying that much attention 2 years back to beauty standards, but I'm pretty sure near impossible level of thinness is overstating it. I know I've been labeled as very thin, and I don't do much to maintain it, good metabolism or something. Point is that it's not anywhere near impossible, though it might be solid work to get to and maintain. It's not different from beauty standards of men, really. It often takes work and dedication, but it's not an impossible goal. As for the claim that flat androgynous bodies are the cultural standard or anywhere near standardly appealing, you're just flat out wrong. We're pretty well obsessed with curves, the ass, and the titties. It's everywhere in our media because it's attractive and what's attractive sells. Now, I can't speak much to eating disorders, but at the very least I would think the weight loss industry would have more to do with the fact that as a country, we are obese and therefore unhealthy. Am I saying that the weight loss and diet communities churn out the best, most healthy stuff ever? Not at all. But I do believe it comes mostly from the obesity epidemic rather than a need to be curveless.
In pedophile culture, the top Pornhub category is teen. Barely legal girls in schoolgirl outfits play out everything from virgin manipulations, daddy-daughter incest fantasies, teacher-student make-believe. You name it, there's porn for it. And it's been whacked off to millions and millions and millions of times. Now, it's fair to wonder whether the only thing keeping some of these viewers from watching straight-up child porn is age of consent laws.
Welcome to the internet, Buttercup. Now, I didn't expect the least biased sources ever from this article, but even this is ridiculous. The site you link is not only an anti-porn site specifically, but a site that blurred out not only the logo of Pornhub, but also the words squirt and scissoring. If that weren't bad enough, it's been updated since you used it a few months ago with 2016's numbers, which show a trend that flies in the face of what you're claiming. Stepmom and MILF now both beat out teen. In fact, stepmom, mom, and MILF all made it high up into the list for 2014, 2015, and 2016. Which kind of puts a dampener on the we want female children narrative, doesn't it?
Influenced by the porn industry, labiaplasty, a surgery that carves the labia minora down to porn-sized slivers, is rapidly gaining popularity. So are other procedures like hymenoplasty, which restores virgin-like tightness to women's vaginas.
I have to say, following these links down the rabbit hole is kind of fun, particularly when they tend to be self-defeating. While most of the article has an anti-porn slant, it talks a lot about how it's girls and women feeling self-conscious about their bodies. Shocker there, considering most people do. And how some of that influence might be able to be attributed to the porn industry. There's even a choice quote about halfway down. Dr. Cavaney agrees that pornographic images can be a factor in women deciding to have the procedure, but adds that this assumption often means that women feel guilty when they come to her. They say,
I don't want you to think it's because of Playboy. Actually, it's when I'm in the shower I feel this way, or as a child it bothered me, or you can see it through my bikini.
This only reaffirms my suspicions that it has more to do with how a girl or a woman feels about her body than it does about porn. Honestly, if it wasn't this, it'd probably be something else. Most people who are nitpicking one feature feel better after they get it fixed in one way or the other, or they move on to nitpicking another part of their body. It doesn't necessarily mean you can solely blame porn because of the types of bodies that tend to be in porn, or because of society or culture at large, because apparently we're all pedos, which we're not. If a woman wants to look neater or feel tighter, that's her business and her right. And here I thought feminists were supposed to be pro-choice.
In pedophile culture, women are outright pressured to regularly shave or wax their nether regions and underarms. The cosmetics industry, again, targeted at a woman, peddles anti-aging creams and lotions that will make our skin baby soft.
Beauty standards pressure everyone. While I will agree that shaving the underarms and twats is a more pronounced pressure towards women, it's still one you're free to ignore. If someone in your life is truly so bothered by it, kick them to the curb and don't feel bad about it. But don't let it bother you so much that you have to go and write an article either. Shave if you want to. Don't shave if you don't. Stop caring about what other people think. As far as the creams and lotions, you're free to ignore the advertisements for those as well. But the reason they're marketed that way is because we consider youthfulness to be beautiful. And not the kind of youthfulness that you see in a toddler. After all, they don't show 4-year-olds in beauty cream adverts. They show people who look like they're in their, around their 20s. The term baby soft comes from how soft a baby's skin is. Seriously. Have you ever actually touched a 1-month-old or even a newborn? Their skin is brand new, freshly grown, unblemished, untarnished, and it's super freaking soft. It's kind of ridiculous. People seek that kind of softness, even though it's not really achievable.
In pedophile culture, we casually refer to grown women as girls. We have a word specifically for an attractive female teenager: jailbait. Women are sexualized as chicks, kittens, and babes.
So the link you've provided leads nowhere. It just spat out a suspended page error at me, shown here. Sadly, that means I'll just have to respond to what you said. Bummer. Did you know that we also refer to grown men as boys? Casually even. Jailbait comes from the fact that post-pubescent teenagers can and often do very well look legal, and therefore if you didn't know better, you could end up in jail. Hell, I know my looks haven't changed much since 16, and I've seen girls as young as 13 and 14 who look like I do. Kind of scary. As far as the baby animal names, would that mean that, according to your logic, we also live in a bestiality culture? If I'm to take seriously the quote-unquote evidence that women are called girls as supporting the theory of a pedophile culture, then it only goes to follow that baby animal pet names would support a bestiality culture, right? It makes about as much sense.
In pedophile culture, I often catch men in public checking me out with eyes full of lust until they see the hair on my legs, at which point they resort to a theatrical display of disgust. I've eavesdropped on groups of college-age guys talking about how they won't perform oral sex on a woman if her labia are too prominent. One man who'd been pursuing sex with me for 3 years suddenly changed his mind when I revealed that I do not, and I will not, shave off my pubic hair. In other words, many men stop being attracted to me when reminded that I am a woman and not a young girl.
So let me try and make sure I have this straight. A few guys in public find body hair to be a turnoff. A few dumb college dudes are trying to out-macho each other by pretending they can and will be picky and choosy about the pussy they can score in a private conversation with each other. And you're a massive eavesdropper, which is pretty rude, by the way. Not that I can say that I'm any better. Oh, and another guy, one which you personally interacted with, also found pubic hair to be a turnoff. Let me just level with you here. Some people don't want their mouth near a fucking jungle. Some people prefer the people they are with to be clean-shaven, or at least tidy. Or even just willing to compromise, which it kind of seems like you have trouble with. He had every right to no longer be interested in you when he realized you weren't compatible, whatever that reason might be. It literally has nothing to do with you being a woman or a young girl or appearing as this, that, or the other. Fuck, I don't like body hair either, and prefer my men and my women to be relatively tidy down there as well. It's just what I like. It's got nothing to do with their age. Am I suddenly pedophilic? No. No, I'm not.
Surely all of these men who have a preference for the aforementioned qualities in women aren't pedophiles by the strict definition of the word. But it seems that a high number of men, likely as a result of deep cultural conditioning, find many of the same things attractive in a woman that a pedophile would find attractive in a girl child. Small labia, tight vaginas, intact hymens, baby soft skin, hairless limbs and vulvas, eternal youthfulness, tiny frail bodies, and as Tumblr user Red Dress Alert wrote, how do we not recognize that this is essentially a description of a baby or a toddler?
It's not just that they aren't pedos by the strict definition. They aren't pedos at all, even by a broad definition. The broadest definition I can think of, off the top of my head at least, is the societal one that labels all people who are attracted to anyone underage as pedophiles. Even while that's incorrect, it still doesn't label anyone who prefers shaved nethers a pedo. It doesn't label anyone who refers to a group of women as girls a pedo. And it doesn't label people who call women by pet names a pedo. Not by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. All of those things you label as things that a child would have also happen to be signifiers of youthfulness in general, which isn't strictly a child thing. And as far as the tiny frail bodies thing being attractive, I would challenge that assertion outright. I'm 5'2", 110 pounds, and I still get guys who are scared to get rough with me literally at all, even though I like it, because they're afraid they will really hurt me. And I'm definitely not particularly frail looking. But before we go on, let's look at this Tumblr post a little closer to address the comment in context.
Femininity, making it strange. When femininity means being small, smooth skin, without body hair, unable to walk confidently or capably, high-voiced with big eyes, usually dressed in colorful clothes, attracted to shiny and sparkly objects, silly, charming, illogical, giggly, pouty, emotional, irrational, impressionable, incompetent, physically weak and dependent. How do we not recognize that this is essentially a description of a baby or a toddler? I don't think our individual fashion choices make or break the patriarchy, but this point could use a little more consideration than it gets. What does it do to a woman every time she decides to remove the markers of being an adult and make herself more baby-like in order to be acceptable or attractive to men? What does compliance cost us? If this idea of femininity looks normal to you, try seeing how strange it actually is. These are some disturbing underpinnings.
I'd like to preface this paragraph with a very simple statement. I do not personally equate beauty standards with concepts of femininity, or for that matter, masculinity. I really don't think anybody should, though by some stretch of my own imagination, I can see why one might do so. With that out of the way, I believe what you're describing is more girlishness than femininity anyway. What you're describing doesn't conjure images of fully grown women. Maybe that was your point, but I really don't see how you twist it back around to being a description of a more mature femininity. When I think of a woman, I imagine hair that's pulled up, I imagine curves, someone who's charming and witty and maybe has a bit of a bite to her humor. I completely don't understand anyone equating femininity to being weak, independent, and incompetent in this day and age. That stereotype is long in our past, and while some may still cling to it, I honestly don't know enough people whose image of a woman would sound anywhere close to this. While women might put on makeup to look younger, as in their very late teens to early 20s, there's just as many women who go for a more mature look as well. Why the focus on only one side of things? Wait a second, is it because your narrative melts if you look at things fairly? That must be it.
Back to my original point. I need you and your sympathetic readers to understand this grave truth. Pedophilia is not nearly as taboo, shameful, or repulsive to society as you claim it is. I wish it was. Much to the detriment of females the world over, your desires are reflected back to you infinitely, mass-produced on a global scale to meet an ever-growing demand. This male supremacist world welcomes you with open arms, and your every wish is its command. I dare say you are safer to be yourself than girls are. You say, I'm a pedophile, not a monster, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. You're not a monster. You're a man. A rather common man. A microcosmic representation of patriarchy's most prevalent perversions. You are not special. You are not anomalous. And you are not alone. Not even close. Your sexual orientation is just another manifestation of the collective desire of males to subjugate females in a crusade to uphold male supremacy at all costs.
Whoa there, Allison. I think you're getting a little ahead for yourself. Considering more of your sources didn't hold up, contradicted you, were Tumblr, or were just simply not there, I'd say you don't have the evidence to back up these frankly ridiculous claims. Considering that more people have an immediate revulsion upon even thinking about such things, and even in prison, where the lowest of the low end up, they are thought of as scum and treated as such, sometimes having to be locked into solitary for their own safety, I think I can safely say that the vast majority of the real world contradicts your claims. Especially when you assert that all men are pedophiles somehow because they like their girls to not be hairy and prefer youthful glow to deep-set wrinkles? Now, I harbor absolutely no love for child molesters and the like, so it would be unfortunate for all men in general to be lumped in with people who are actually doing something wrong for a few preferences that you find quote-unquote disturbingly similar to a toddler. I rather like men, and I prefer you didn't go around calling every bloke on the streets a pedo, watering down the term until it's just another racist, bigot, or Nazi.
So if being understanding and supportive of your pedophilia entails grooming males to eroticize childlike features in women, and teaching women to maintain eternal youth as to not aggravate male insecurities, then you are not asking for our support. You are asking for our submission. And just as you say there's no ethical way we can fully actualize our sexual longings, there is no ethical way to request cooperation from those of us actively trying to dismantle the patriarchal system that your orientation represents.
Okay, look here. Even if I were being uncharitable and completely unfair to the Salon article, I still wouldn't come out with the conclusion that the Salon article was asking women to look like children. So I'm not sure how you got to where you got, except that your feminist lens is a bit more warped than the typical one. I highly suggest picking up a reality lens. Might help a bit with that boogeyman you see at the edge of every corner. Patriarchy's a bitch to take down when it doesn't exist, eh? Well, that's all for me. I hope you guys enjoy. I look forward to all your lovely comments. This is Simply Mad, hoping we can all survive the madness.
I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go give Simply Mad a subscribe. If you didn't, let her know why. If you would like your content to be featured on my channel, please send me your best work via the hashtag Promotional Pmonday, or feel free to message me on my Gmail or YouTube messages. If you know any cool or inexplicably tiny YouTubers you think could use some love, point them to my channel and get them to check out this series. I don't just promote shitlord videos, so seriously, whatever it is, if it's good and they are small, get it sent. If I like the video, I'll do my best to get you an episode. Whatever you do link me, I will assume you are giving me permission to use it on my channel for this show unless you state otherwise. Note, I mainly focus on channels with less than 500 subscribers, and preferably channels with less than 100, as they will see the most benefit. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Simply Mad, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!